Hello everyone, with Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Thursday evening, October 19, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Feel free to also ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so let us take a look at what the United States Climate Prediction Center is showing on their Global Tropics Hazards Outlook. And we can see that for the time period October 25 to October 31, as well as November 1 to November 7, we have sections of the Caribbean highlighted in greens as well as reds and whites, even some reds by itself. And what does that mean? If we take a look at the key at the bottom, the reds and whites represent at least 20% chance of tropical cyclone formation probability, and the reds by itself about a 40% chance. Either way, it's gonna be an interesting up to 3 weeks to see exactly what unfolds. It's that time of year when we usually see more development across the Caribbean, more storms, more hurricanes, more wet weather in general in the month of autumn. And we can also see the greens that represent the above normal rainfall, especially across the Western Caribbean at the first week of November, and the Eastern Caribbean, well, majority of the Caribbean in general, the last week of October. But we know how these things go when it comes to the US Climate Prediction Center. Sometimes it shows a lot of this and a lot of that, some of it verifying, some of it not. It's just a waiting game to see exactly what unfolds, so we have to stay updated. Let us take a look at what the US National Hurricane Center is showing on their 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook. We can see that we don't have any areas of possible tropical cyclone development, but we do see Tropical Storm Tammy right there to the east of Barbados. If we take a look at the forecast, we can see that it's expected to move towards the northwest, then to the north, and is expected to actually intensify to a hurricane. So we can see the S's that represent storm, then an H right there. So definitely we should be vigilant to see exactly what unfolds, get prepared so that we're not that drastically affected if you live in those areas. Right now it's moving towards the west northwest at 13 miles per hour and is packing maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour. You can see tropical storm watches in yellows up for sections of Martinique, Barbados, and maybe sections of Antigua and Barbuda. And we can also see tropical storm warnings in blue, maybe for sections of Dominica, Guadeloupe, Anguilla. Either way, try to get as prepared as possible. We can even see it right here on the rainbow loop. Lots of convection associated with the system, the yellows, oranges, reds, lots of deep thunderstorm. And even if the system doesn't directly pass over you with its center, there's definitely going to be a lot of outer bands bringing more in the way of overcast skies, showers and thunderstorms to sections of the Eastern Caribbean, anywhere from Trinidad and Tobago northward to Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, definitely Barbados, St. Lucia, Martinique, Guadeloupe, Dominica. Majority of the Leeward Islands definitely going to be in for some amount of rainfall that could trigger some amount of flash flooding. If we actually take a look at what the Euro and the GFS models are showing for tropical storms Tammy's position for 12Z on Saturday, this is actually representing 7 a.m. on Saturday, and we do see the differences in intensity as well as location. For the Euro model, we can see that it has a pressure of 994 millibars, so it's a much weaker storm and is situated across maybe sections of the Leeward Islands at that time with its center. The GFS has a much stronger storm with a barometric pressure of 986 millibars, and we know the lower the pressure, the higher intensity. And we can see that it's located a bit to the east with its area of low pressure from the Leeward Islands. Either way, we can see a lot of greens associated with that storm that represents rainfall. And even if you're not directly over these islands with your eye, it's definitely going to be bringing a lot of rainfall to those areas. Let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have a trough right there affecting portions of the northeastern Caribbean as we speak, and we saw that right here on the satellite images. We can see the clouds associated with that trough affecting portions of those areas that are going to be affected by tropical storm Tommy. So they're already, you know, being prepped for more rain right now. And we can also see that we have that era that was the cold front across section of the Bahamas that's now induced a trough. You know, the troughs are represented by those orange lines, and we can see that trough across sections of the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, Cuba right now, and we can even see it better on the visible satellite images of the Atlantic. You can see tropical storm Tammy right there spinning away, the trough, and the other trough across sections of the Western Caribbean induced by that cold front. We'll be talking about the rest of the Caribbean later on. Let's focus our attention on what happened across Jamaica for today. By the way, we must apologize for the lack of video yesterday. There was a power outage in my area. I don't know what the Jamaica Public Service is going on with, but thank goodness it is fixed now. Either way, we would have made a prediction that there would have been some afternoon rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes, and by 3:15 p.m. that's exactly what took place. We saw clouds bring some amount of isolated thunderstorms to sections of northern St. Catherine, western St. Andrew, sections of St. Elizabeth, eastern Westmoreland, eastern Hanover, southern St. James. Definitely sections of southern Trelawney got in on some of that as well. And even by 5:15 p.m. we saw those thunderstorm activity, you know, fluctuating and going all over. Definitely sections of St. James, Trelawney, St. Elizabeth, Clarendon, St. Catherine. And we even had commenters confirming the rainfall. Brown Eyes Chain stating raining in Spanish Town, and Sachet stating it's been raining a lot with heavy winds here in St. Elizabeth. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can see where we indeed had those clouds coming in from the east, those low-level clouds that is. Then in the afternoon, when we had that daytime heating, we had those low-level clouds becoming cumulonimbus clouds. Then the high cold cloud tops were being blown off towards the southeast, just like what we saw on the social media platforms. But right now we can see that majority of that has dissipated. No more sparkling white dots that indicate thunderstorm activity, just some high cold cloud tops being blown off towards the south, maybe some lingering showers across some southern parishes as we speak. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see we have 27 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston, and by tonight, by around 3 a.m. on Friday, 25 degrees Celsius is what is being expected across those cities. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that both maps are showing 18 on Friday, and we do see that Jamaica is still embedded in some yellows and slight oranges that represent at least 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures, as we can see by the key on the right. When the normal temperatures for the month of October across Jamaica is about 89 degrees Fahrenheit, and when we take a look at the thermometer, 89 degrees Fahrenheit is about the equivalent of 31 degrees Celsius, so we should be receiving anywhere from 31 to 33 degrees Celsius at most for Friday. As it relates to the dry air map, we can see that majority of the Caribbean has a lot of moist air. We don't see all of those yellows, oranges, reds, and whites within those reds. Majority of that is across the northern portion of the Atlantic. Lots of moist air across the Caribbean, so it's definitely gonna be getting more moist, more wet. Definitely gonna be setting the stage for more wet weather. We do see a hint of yellow right there across sections of the south central Caribbean that indicate the least amount of dry air scale, but it's not that noticeable or drastic. Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Friday, we do see, however, that we have some amount of hazy weather, slight hazy weather across the Leeward Islands ahead of tropical storm Tommy, and we can see some as well across sections of the main development region. But what we don't see is that dark brown, that vigorous plume of dust right there closer to Africa, and we hope it stays that way for the rest of the year. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we do see that up to 1 meter wave height is definitely expected for majority of the south and the east, while the north and west getting the lighter blue colors that represent 0.5 meter wave heights, and that's due to the fact that we won't be having strong winds at all across the island for tomorrow. Look at those winds. The Euro and the GFS showing the winds coming in more from the north or the northwest. The south coast getting in on that southerly flow, north coast getting in on that northerly or westerly flow, Either way, we see that air piling up across inland areas of some central and especially eastern parishes in Jamaica. And we know what usually happens during the afternoon. We have all of that air piling up, those cumulus clouds becoming cumulonimbus clouds, and we have that daytime heating. And with that upper level wind coming in from the, let's say, west northwest for tomorrow, it's kind of curling, coming in from the west across the island, in the western portion of the island tomorrow. Then on the south and eastern side, it's curling off to the southeast. Either way, more in the way of west southwesterly wind flow. It could bring more rainfall to sections of some, let's say, central and eastern parishes, more overcast skies, and especially some southern parishes. If we take a look at the rainfall forecast, we do see the year and the GFS models showing that rainfall, especially mainly for central and eastern Jamaica. So we don't see those darker shades of blues across western Jamaica. It's definitely central and eastern Jamaica, so sections of Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, St. Thomas, St. Andrew. And we see that on both the Euro and the GFS models, even although the Euro model is showing more in the way of blues across western Jamaica. But we do see the consensus. There's definitely going to be some amount of rainfall across the island, and this is valid for 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 2 p.m. Jamaica time. So ensure that if you have plans in the afternoon on Friday, try to get them done early, especially where we have those darker shades of blue, sections of St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, sections of Manchester, Clarendon. That's definitely where it's going to be raining on Friday. And if we take a look at the accumulated precipitation forecast, we do see some contrast where the rainfall is located, but these maps are showing the rainfall totals, and we're looking for the amount that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on a Friday, and we see up to 0.35 of an inch of rainfall across sections of central Jamaica on the Euro model. GFS is a bit less robust, showing up to 0.26 of an inch of rainfall across the same spot. And we're indeed grateful that we're going to be getting another rainfall. We're in the month of October. We usually get an increase in the amount of rainfall for the entire month across the island. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get before we start falling off on the scale, entering into a dry period. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we do see that usual afternoon thunderstorm activity across sections of Suriname, French Guyana, sections of Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, and even sections of the Cayman Islands. Definitely got in on some amount of rainfall associated with that trough. Cuba, sections of Jamaica with that afternoon convection that we mentioned earlier, Haiti, Dominican Republic. Definitely that trough is bringing lots of rainfall to sections of the northeastern Caribbean at this time. We are about to start getting the effects across sections of the eastern Caribbean in general. Sections of Barbados definitely started getting in on some amount of rainfall, I am sure. And if we take a look at the northeastern Caribbean, we can see where we indeed have that rainfall right now, all courtesy of that trough. They've been getting rainfall all day, especially across sections of Dominica, Guadeloupe, sections of Antigua and Barbuda, St. Martin, Anguilla. And we can see that afternoon convection that we indeed had across sections of Puerto Rico. You can also see more rainfall still coming in associated with that trough. However, as it relates to the Barbados radar, we can see that unusual direction for the rainfall. Look at where the rainfall is coming in across Barbados, coming in from the north. That indicates that area of low pressure. We usually have that area spinning anti-clockwise around its center. So its center is off to the east of Barbados. So it's definitely going to be sending everything to the south and then around in a circle. So if any rainfall is coming tonight across Barbados, across the north coast, then to the south, so it's a north-south kind of fashion. So we can see that rainfall coming in across Barbados, sections of Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines later on tonight. And we can see a lot of activity associated with Tropical Storm Tommy off to its east. If we take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see some rainfall across sections of Cuba associated with that trough, and that rainfall that we mentioned associated with that trough right there off the coast of Belize. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we do see that we don't have much in the way of high temperatures wherever we have Tommy. As we can see, average temperatures are even slightly below normal temperatures across those spots. But we do see that from the central to the western Caribbean, definitely going to be getting in on some amount of above normal temperatures. But we can see that cold air is still left back across sections of the Gulf of Mexico, the Central America areas, and sections of the southeastern United States. taking a look at the siren dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Friday, we do see that majority of the Windward Islands won't be getting in on any slight hazy weather, but it's definitely sections of the Leeward Islands that will be getting in on some of that, as indicated by those lighter shades of browns. But it won't even be that noticeable at all, considering that the plume is not that vigorous. As relates to the wave forecast, we can see that the highest waves will be across sections of the eastern and northeastern Caribbean, as indicated by those purples and the reds, while 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights are expected across the majority of the central to the western Caribbean, with the Gulf of Mexico and sections of the western Caribbean getting in on some 0.54 meter wave heights, and we see that on both the Euro and the GFS malls. And we know that that's because the strongest winds are going to be where Tommy is, as indicated by those yellows, oranges, reds, and even purples that indicate up to 25 to 60 knot winds, while the rest of the Caribbean should be getting in on 10 to 20 knot winds, with the least amount of winds across those spots that are going to be getting in on those 0.54 meter wave heights. As it relates to the rainfall total now, look at those rainfall totals. We can see that both of these maps from the Euro and the GFS malls are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on a Friday, and we do see that we have all of those purples and whites and grays across the waters to the east of the Caribbean expected, all courtesy of tropical storm Tommy. But either way, majority of the eastern Caribbean should be getting in on a lot of rainfall, some flood triggering rainfall, as a matter of fact, anywhere from let's say Guyana and Venezuela northward, so Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, sections of St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, all of these islands across the eastern Caribbean, even sections of Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic should be getting in on some of that. You can also see some of that across sections of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, section of Belize, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, section of the Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS malls are showing the same thing in terms of these rainfall totals. And we know that when they're showing something similar like this, the certainty is high and the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.